Right?
Nick, how about we get started? I think there may be a few more that join us underway, but yeah, why don't we kick things off here?
Okay.
I'm not going to feed you.
Yeah, I know. I'm losing
Yeah,
out here.
we'll have to have virtual sandwiches for the meeting. Yeah, my name is Dick Schaefer. I'm the RESC chair and from Schaefer Development Services, City of Taunton. So I think what we'll do is do the, welcome you to the January 1st quarter meeting of the Regional Economic Strategies Committee for SERPED. And we'll just go around the area here of folks and do the introductions. We'll start with Jeff.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Jeff Walker, Director of SERPED. We are excited to get back together again today. We had some overview presentations at the last meeting, and we have been very busy. Have a lot to share with you and looking forward to getting your thoughts. Welcome.
Don.
Don Sullivan, Economic Development, SERPED.
Alan. Yeah, you're unmuted.
Alan.
Oh, sorry, the wife was disturbing me again. Alan Slavin, current chair of the SERPED Commission.
Okay. Eric.
Blame me?
Yeah, blame you.
Blame me?
Yeah.
Eric Arbini, Principal Comprehensive Planner at SERPED.
Bill. I don't know how your screen looks, but Bill's next.
Bill Roth, I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Economic and Community Development, City of Taunton.
And our speaker.
Oh, hi. Hi. Good morning. Ann Correa from the USDA Rural Development Office.
Great. Jay.
Hello, everyone. Jay Patikis, Mass Development, Business Development.
Mary Ellen.
Mary Ellen DeFrias, Mass Development, Community Development.
And Janice. Janice, can you hear us? She's not muted. Janice?
Are you saying Dennis? Dennis or Janice?
Janice.
Janice, Director of Economic Development for the town of Middleborough.
Probably
no problem.
Yeah. Lyle?
I'm Lyle Perney, Housing and Economic Development for North Attleboro.
Grant?
Morning, everybody. Grant King, Director of Comprehensive Planning and Housing here at SERPED.
And Jen?
Hello, Jennifer Menard, Vice President of Economic and Business Development at Bristol Community College.
Let's see, I'll show Angie next.
Good morning, Angie LaPerriere. I'm the Assistant Vice President Commercial Lender for Seed Corporation. I'm filling in today for Sue Murray, our Executive Director.
And Lloyd? You have to unmute yourself, Lloyd.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Lloyd Mendes, Town of Somerset.
All right. And then we have someone on the phone. A 267 number. Whoever's on the phone needs to unmute themselves on the phone. I don't know who that is. Someone come in by phone only? Okay, well, welcome, whoever that is. So, welcome to everyone, and our featured speaker today is Ann Correa, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and so we'll move right to her presentation.
Hi, good morning, everybody. So I did bring a PowerPoint, so if I can share my screen, I'm not 100% sure how I do that. Can I do that on my end?
Yes, you should be able to. I made you a co-host.
Okay.
On the bottom of your screen, you should have an option that says share screen.
Yeah.
And Lisette, would you introduce yourself?
Lizeth Gonzalez, Senior Comprehensive Planner at Serped. Thank you.
Actually, this one. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. So good morning, everybody, and thanks. I'm actually just going to let me just see if I can move this. Oh. Okay, I'm sorry. Good morning, everybody. So I thought it would just be a little bit easier if I had a PowerPoint to follow along. I know there's a lot of different representations from different towns and nonprofits across the board. So I figured I would kind of go into a PowerPoint and describe some of the programs that we have and available services that we can provide within our service area. So USDA Rural Development, we have a number of offices. And well, this is our mission essentially, is really to provide the economy and quality of life in rural areas to improve that. And how we do that is through a number of different programs. But we have multiple programs under rural development, which is really just a sub-agency of the USDA for those of you that are not familiar. And we are essentially broken down into 3 different divisions. We have our Business and Cooperative Services Division, we have our Housing Service Division, and then we have our Rural Utilities Division. So really why this is important is this determines what levels of funding we have available within our particular programs. It also mandates kind of what the regulations are and the eligibility requirements within each program, which you'll see is very different from program to program. So we're kind of set up regionally. So we have 4 different regions with 47 state offices. The state office in Massachusetts is actually located in Amherst. And then we have 400 sub-area offices, sometimes also called field offices. So for the South Shore area, the field office located in Wareham would be the service area for all of southeastern Massachusetts and the Cape Cod area, as well as the islands. And then we also have 2 other offices in Massachusetts that cover different counties. So we have our Hadley office that would cover all of the western Massachusetts. And then we have our Holden office, which covers Worcester, Middlesex, Essex, and Suffolk counties. So anybody from the Southeast area that would be interested in programs that may be offered through the USDA would come to Wareham first and talk to one of the representatives for the program that they're interested. Some of these programs that we have are actually offered nationally, but some of these programs are actually, we receive a state allocation and they're administered directly by our field office. So that will depend on what type of program that you're interested in. So today I'll talk a little bit about some of our programs at a glance. Like I said, we have over 40 programs, but there are some programs within this service area that we are seeing applications for kind of based on the median household income and the rurality of the town. Many of our programs that we offer nationally and across the country, we just aren't eligible to receive those types of funding in Massachusetts due to our population and our median household income, which is what essentially regulates our instruction or our policy. So these are some of the programs I'll talk about. I'll talk a little bit about our housing programs, community facilities, water and environmental, which is essentially water and waste programs. And then we do have other programs that will support for-profit businesses, energy, and telecommunications. Also, I will share this PowerPoint with you at the end. It's really meant to be like a working document. So there are several links in here if you're interested, particularly in one of the programs. There's a link down here at the right. It says all programs. You can see all 40 plus programs that we administer nationally. So the first program I'll talk about is our rural housing programs. Essentially, we have 2 individual type programs, one called the 502, one called the 504. We do receive state allocations. These are funded directly out of our field offices. And we offer subsidized mortgages with extended terms to those that are considered low or very low income in order to purchase a home. So it works kind of similar to the idea of Section 8, where another agency would pay a portion of the rent. This is very similar, but it's for a mortgage and also to purchase a house. So we offer the same program as a repair loan for those individuals that already own their own home and are also considered very low income, but they need essential repairs. This could be a septic system, this could be a roof, this could be to provide accessibility to the house if they needed to put a ramp on. We do offer loans at 1% interest rates on the repair side, and then we also offer grants to seniors in order to help them stay in their home. So these are applications that are accepted all year long. Like I said, we receive a federal state allocation every year, and all of these housing programs here are run out of our field office in Wareham. We also have a housing preservation grant, which would essentially be offered to a sponsoring organization such as a nonprofit or a public body. And this allows them to administer their own program for repair of housing for low-income families who either own their own home or in some instances actually rent in rural areas. So in this situation for a housing preservation grant, this is a competitive application process where the two above actually are not. So those are just based on eligibility of individuals who are looking to either purchase or repair a home. The housing preservation grant would be essentially to a nonprofit, and whomever that nonprofit was or public body would have to apply at the national level. So it is a competitive application process. I did put information here that links you to the pre-application for the housing preservation grant, if this is something that you or your organization or your town is interested in, and then also the point of contact. So what most people are wondering, well, what is considered an eligible area under the housing programs? So there's also a link to the map. So if you've ever visited our website, it can be confusing if you don't exactly know what it is you're looking for, because we have a number of different eligibility maps that we use. Some of our programs will look straight at population of the town to determine eligibility, and some it's a little bit more complex where they're looking at the town population as well as how dense the area is by the census data. So the next slide will kind of give you like an overview. So in our housing programs, if you see the darker yellow areas, those would be considered ineligible areas in order for those people to apply for housing loans or grants. Anybody have any questions? If you do, please interrupt me while the question is fresh in your head. Okay. So that's kind of the overview of housing. The next programs that we can talk about are programs that we offer at the USDA Rural Development Office in order to support energy projects. So the first one would be our what we call a REAP program, and it's essentially the Rural Energy for America program. And this actually provides grants up to 25% to rural small businesses in order to make either energy efficiency improvements to their operations or either to install renewable energy systems. This is a quite large and successful program that we actually are administering out of our field office. We do receive a state allocation each year. An example of this would be to an ag producer who is looking to make energy efficiency improvements at his farm, or this could be to a small restaurant that would be in an eligible area in order to put like solar PV panels on the roof. This is one of our more popular programs, and probably the reason that it is because we have great Massachusetts incentives for renewable energy as well as energy efficiency. So you can actually combine those other or leverage those other funding resources with this REAP grant. And oftentimes it can cover up to sometimes, 40 or 50% of the total project cost. So that would be, again, for-profit businesses or ag producers that would be located in eligible rural areas. The next program is actually a brand new program, which is funded out of our national office. So this would be a national allocation. So when I say that it's funded nationally, it means that sometimes it can be more competitive than those that might come into the field office because we have our own allocations in the field. Whereas if it's a national program, you're competing nationally with everybody across the country. So the Higher Blends Infrastructure Incentive Program is a new program that essentially will expand the availability of ethanol and biodiesel fuel. It provides 50% cost share grants to fueling facilities or fuel distribution companies. So the intent is that those fueling companies will install or upgrade their fuel dispensers or any type of infrastructure, including storage tanks or equipment, in order to accommodate the higher blend. So for these two programs above, we use the same eligibility map, which is actually different than the housing one. So it's really important to understand that depending on which program it is, the definition of rural might be a little bit different. So there's a link there to the RBS eligibility map for the above two programs. There's also, if you're kind of interested in looking to see what type of energy projects that we've funded, there is a link to our energy investment map, and it'll identify all of the REAP energy projects that we've done in Massachusetts or across the country if you're looking to invest in that a little bit more and understand what types of projects are being funded. Lastly is the Rural Energy Savings Program. This provides loans to eligible entities at a 0% interest rate in order to make affordable loans to different consumers in order to implement cost-effective or energy efficiency measures and different types of renewable energy projects. This is really just designed to help the consumer lower their energy bill. The consumer in these situations, it could be a business, it could be a town, it could be a nonprofit, or it could be an individual. And this is one of those programs that we don't use the map. They're generally looking at total areas, whomever the grantee might be in this situation. Or I shouldn't say grantee, the recipient, because it is a loan, even though it's a 0% interest rate, it is a loan, so it does have to be paid back. This would be a rural area of 50,000 population or less, strictly looking at town population versus the map. So an eligible entity, I was just recently, we don't have any RESPs within our jurisdiction. So our jurisdiction for the state office in Amherst actually is all the state of Rhode Island, all the state of Massachusetts, and all the state of Connecticut. While they've done a number of these more to the Midwest area of the country, we haven't done any of these in the New England area. But I was just recently talking to a green bank who would be an eligible entity, but it could be a nonprofit, it could be a town, even in some situations, it could be a for-profit entity that would be the recipient of this loan that would then in turn re-lend those funds in order to assist either the town, the businesses, or other individuals in installing renewable energy or energy efficiency improvements. Did anybody have any questions about energy? No.
Any questions for Ann?
Okay. All right, we'll move on. So those are our three main energy programs that we just talked about. If anybody does have any questions, you can just go ahead and holler. So we do have a few different programs that will support essentially for-profit businesses as well. One is our what we call IRP or REMAP, RMAP loan program, which essentially establishes a revolving loan fund. An eligible recipient would be a public agency, a nonprofit, it could be a tribe. Generally, we see these applications coming in as community economic development corporations. We do have many IRPs and RMAPs across Massachusetts, one of our biggest being our portfolio with the Cape and Islands Community Development Corporation, which is located on Cape Cod. So essentially, these loans are provided to the nonprofit at a 1 or 2% interest rate, and then they can relend those funds to individual businesses in order to improve the economy and to create jobs. So these loans are generally, depending on which program it is, these are both revolving loan fund programs. They're just different in the fact that some are at 20 years, some are at 30 years, some are at 1% and 2%. It depends on what types of projects you're looking to use the loan funds for. So our MAP would be a smaller program where the maximum grant to a CDC or nonprofit would be $500,000 at a 20-year. And then they can in turn use those loans to small businesses, and they can charge a market rate, and then basically the gap in between will cover the administrative costs in order to use the program. Next program we have is RBDG, which is essentially Rural Business Development Grant. This program is open to public entities, nonprofits, could be a town. And this grant really is used for kind of planning purposes or technical assistance, or some type of business counseling and training. Oftentimes we'll see these RBDG grants as feasibility studies in order to somehow help local businesses that are in rural areas and provide some type of either job retention or job creation. So an example of that would be, we just recently did a regional food policy council, and they completed a feasibility study in order to look at their individual seafood industry and best practices for seafood waste when processing. So they were able to get funds under the RBDG program for that feasibility study. And there's actually no match required in that. So we do receive a small state allocation of RBDG funds in the state of Massachusetts each year. The next program is the BNI Guarantee Program. This program essentially provides loan guarantees to lenders in order to provide some type of credit enhancement for new loans to businesses in rural areas. Eligible entities would be for-profits, non-profits, cooperatives, tribes, public bodies, or individuals engaged in or proposed to engage in some type of business. All three of these actually, you have to be in rural eligible areas under the RBS definition, which I think I'll show you on the next page. Unless it has to do with food distribution. If it's some type of regional food distribution project, then you do not have to be in an eligible area. So an example of that would be that we recently just funded a project called Gotham Greens, and it was actually located in Providence, Rhode Island. And so they were not in an eligible area, but Gotham Greens is a hydroponic for-profit facility. I think the total loan was about $9 million. And we did help to construct that facility with the use of the funds, and they didn't have to be in an eligible area. So it's kind of one of the few exceptions that we have of needing to be in an eligible area if it has to do specifically with food distribution. So under our programs that would support business, we would use the business programs map, which is slightly different again than the housing map that we saw earlier, but this would show you or give you an idea of eligible areas under this program. And what I should say is for IRP and RBDG, since those programs are actually going to the nonprofit, in many instances, the nonprofit doesn't necessarily have to be located, their offices in an eligible area, but they have to provide services to those businesses that would be in eligible areas. And this would be the map that you would use to look at that. All right, so community facilities, loans and grants. So basically, this program provides, we have limited grant funds, but we do have a good amount of loan funds that are available within the state of Massachusetts each year in order to develop essential community facilities. So an example of essential community facilities may be healthcare, nursing homes, public facilities such as town halls, safety facilities such as police or fire stations, or educational facilities such as schools and libraries. So we can provide long-term loans up to 40 years at fairly low interest rates for these types of projects. I think our interest rates are about 2.25% right now. Who may be eligible to apply for this program? Public bodies are certainly eligible, nonprofit corporations and tribes are also eligible. So this eligible component is a little bit different because it falls under a different division. So it has a different policy and regulation attached to it. Here is where we are looking straight at the population base. So if your town or community is in an eligible area, it would have to be 20,000 or less. Currently, we are actually still using the 2010 census data, although we do expect that to change this year, which may put a lot of our towns that we are servicing now actually off the map. There are some instances, although it's difficult in many situations to do, where we could provide financing for projects that don't have a population of 20,000, where it's more, but you can identify that the project is only going to benefit some small type of village. And if we can carve out that particular village as having less than 20,000 in population, and it kind of would stand alone, then sometimes we're able to put in what we call like a rural and character request and get that individual village eligible to receive funding under the CF program. So what types of projects are we doing with CF loans? So funds essentially are used for more like infrastructure projects where you can purchase and construct some type of community facility. In the grant program, we don't have a ton of grant funds available within the state each year. They are limited. So we're generally maxing out our grants at 50,000 per project. And we generally are not advising grants under the use of construction. So grants would fund more like non-construction items for equipment or vehicles of that nature. We do, when determining grant availability, we are looking at the median household income of your service area to determine what level of grant you may be eligible for. So 50,000 would be the max, but if you're only eligible based on your median household income of 15%, it would be 15% of the total project cost or 50,000 with storage less. So we actually worked with the Mass Police Association last year, and we were actually able to get, I think, 9 police vehicles funded through Mass Police Association under this community facility grant program. Other things that we would do under the grant, I think we recently did a new furnace for a library. We did a new roof for a community center, things of that nature, where we can kind of pull out just grant funds for some type of non-construction item, makes it a little bit easier. Once you try to use grant funds for construction, then you are at the liberty of falling under federal funds requirement for AIA and UFIS, which are some accessibility standards, where it tends to make the projects a little bit more expensive and kind of not worth using the grant funds for. So we generally avoid the non-construction things on the CF side. So the next program I'll talk to you about is the RCDI initiative. So this is essentially a program that's funded under RHS. It is a national program, so it's a competitive program nationally, where we can award grants to intermediary organizations that then in turn provide financial and technical assistance and training for community economic development projects. So essentially we would have the grantee who would become the intermediary. And the intermediary can be a nonprofit, it can be a public intermediary or qualified, even private organization in some instances. The intermediary does not necessarily need to be in an eligible area, but they in turn can actually provide some type of training or financial assistance or technical assistance program in order to develop a program capacity to undertake a project to support the community. So the intermediary provides some type of technical assistance or training to the recipient, and then the recipient then in turn provides a program or training to the beneficiary. It's a little bit confusing. It's kind of like a pass-through grant, although they don't like us to say that. So the recipient the recipient's office would have to be in an eligible rural area, but the beneficiary would also have to be in an eligible rural area. So essentially it's an intermediary providing training to the recipient, and then the recipient, which could be a community, then in turn provides the training that they learn to the beneficiary. So our rural area under this program is actually the same as what the business programs is. So it actually expands it out to a little bit more eligible communities. Grant range is generally between $50,000 and $250,000. There are some matching grant funds that would be required. And we actually do have an application submission that's coming up in March. So if anybody's a little bit interested in learning more about that program, and if they think that they have some type of technical assistance training program that they would like to get out there to several different communities that might be eligible at the same time, this might be a little bit of an opportunity for them. And this is just some examples. I just pulled this down, a list of examples. We haven't done an RCDI in our state in a couple of years, so I don't have any examples recently for Mass, Connecticut, Rhode Island. But this is just some examples that I pulled up, and it kind of shows you what the project description is and what the level of grant is, and also who the recipient of the actual grant was. A lot of these actually are attributed to housing programs where we may be providing, like NeighborWorks of America is a popular one that I see often. We're providing some type of grant to the recipient or some housing authority or nonprofit authority, and they are developing a program where they're actually training other nonprofits on homeownership education. And then those nonprofits will in turn provide residents of those eligible communities homeownership education classes. Okay. So RCDI, here's the eligibility map again. Just kind of tells you in terms of the beneficiary, what eligible areas they would have to be in. So you would have to kind of identify the areas that you would be servicing of your program. And this would be essentially the map that you would use. So we also have a water and waste loan and grant program, also known as WEP for water and environmental programs. And this provides program funding in the form of a loan or a grant for water systems or sewer systems. The program is open to nonprofits as well as public bodies and federally recognized tribes. Eligible areas would include areas that have a population of 10,000 or less. So specifically in the South Shore area, this doesn't provide tons of opportunity, But where we are able to assist some towns that have populations of greater than 10,000 are where those towns have separate water districts or sewer districts or fire districts. And their towns are structured as such where they're kind of independent of the town. Then we can kind of look at specifically at the districts and kind of the area that that district particularly serves. And if that area is less than 10,000, we can help or assist in providing loan or grant programs. So these are similar long-term loans up to 40 years with a low fixed interest rate, right now about 2.25%. And generally we're providing the infrastructure for some type of water system or sewer system or solid waste collection. Any questions on water and environmental? Okay. We actually just, so these loans and grants, again, they are based on populations of 10,000 or less, or if your town is structured where you have a separate taxing authority as a district for water purposes or sewer purposes. In terms of the grants, what we're doing to determine eligibility for grant for the particular towns is really based on similar EDUs. So they look at similar systems across New England to determine the level or capacity of grant that's needed by that particular district or that particular town for the project to which they are looking for funding. So there's not like a set number, but it's really based on your individual users and the cost rate. So under our water and waste programs, we do have a couple of other grants available. And if you went on our website, there's even additional grants. Most of the other grants that are not included here is because the populations are so restrictive as well as the median household income. But these are two different programs where we have had some funding within the state over the last couple of years. So some people have been able to take advantage of it. Again, it has the 10,000 population on the PPG grant, which essentially would assist a low-income community with the soft cost that would be involved in some type of infrastructure project for either water or for waste. Again, it would be any state, local government, or nonprofit or tribe that could apply for this type of grant. But the intent on the PPG grant, the pre-development planning grant, would be that you're looking to apply for a water and waste loan program at the end. So we would come in and help you with the pre-development costs if you qualified, and that would help with the initial soft costs and the preliminary engineering report that would be required in order to apply under a water and waste loan program. There is an income level that's attached to the PPG grants where you have to be less than 80% of the non-metro median household income. And currently under this census, we are using the 82,128 as the state of Massachusetts non-metro median household income. So PPG grant is, like I said, one of the programs where we have had a few that have been funded. The other one is our solid waste management grant. This program essentially reduces or eliminates pollution of water resources by providing funding to those organizations in order to provide technical assistance or training to improve any type of planning or management of solid waste sites. Again, nonprofits, public bodies, tribes, and this one's actually open to academic institutions as well. Rural area is the 10,000 or less. And there are some initiatives because this is a nationally funded program, not a state funded program, where some areas that have lower income populations could receive priority over others, or if you were serving multi-state or regional area, you could get additional points. So there's some links to the website. If anybody thought they were in a situation where they might be eligible, you can directly go to the website and kind of look at kind of the eligibility criteria in a little bit more detail. So lastly is our telecommunications program. We do have a number of loan and grant programs that are funded nationally under our rural utility service. Most of these programs here are essentially to construct some type of broadband network in areas in order to help rural communities either access broadband service where they don't currently have broadband service, or where they don't have the speed necessary to have adequate broadband service. We are not generally funding a lot of these in the South Shore or even in the tri-state of Massachusetts, Connecticut, or Rhode Island, just because I don't think that we have the same need as they do in the Midwest, where for the most part, I think that our towns and communities are well equipped probably with broadband services. We do have some of our islands may qualify for some types of these programs, but I thought it was worth talking about, just so everybody's aware. And then lastly, under our telecommunications is our distance and learning and telemedicine grants, which essentially provides grants for equipment to improve distance learning and telemedicine services, where you would be supporting some type of education or healthcare. There are rural area population of 20,000 or less. These are grant-only awards. They are awarded nationally through our competitive process. There is a 15% match required. This program has been underutilized in the past, but given the pandemic and everything that's going on, last year we were very oversubscribed, so it became quite competitive. They have not put out any type of notice of solicitation for new applications in the Federal Register yet. So it's unclear exactly what's happening with this program right now, but previously we have had a lot of money available in this program. And up until last year, the program was underutilized. So it's just one of those programs to watch if you have some type of need for equipment or audio or video, where you would be able to support some type of distance learning or telemedicine. Obviously, schools are all remote, and a lot of medical clinics now are offering remote services as well. Those would be essentially kind of entities that would be looking to use this program. So more to come on what's going to be happening with the distance learning and telemedicine grants. Okay. So that's a kind of a very, very quick synopsis of kind of some of our programs and some of the projects that we've been funding in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. What I would say is that because we have so many programs and there are different requirements under every program, they're administered differently. Some are administered at the national level, some at the field, some at the regional level. If anybody does have specific questions regarding a project or a potential project, regarding their specific town or the eligibility of their town in terms of what their needs are and what programs may qualify, I am definitely probably the first point of contact. Like I said, a lot of these programs are offered through national office, and once you get into developing applications and specifics, you'll probably be referred to a loan specialist who would kind of start to handle some of those more in-depth questions. But I am available to answer any questions on proposed scenarios, potential projects, or just if you need more information relative to any of these programs that we talked about today.
Any questions for Ann?
I have a question. Janice from Town of Middleborough, and I talked with you a few months ago because I thought this is wonderful opportunity and resources available for folks. And I wanted to see if Middleborough fit because we're kind of known as a rural community. And I saw you had mentioned to me that it looked like we only fit for single family rehab loans. I don't know if you recall our conversation.
Yeah.
But just today I was looking at the map for the business loans while you were talking, and I noticed that it's kind of a fluid border where certain areas of the town may actually, the businesses located in certain areas may qualify for business loans. Is that true?
Yeah,
Or-
that is accurate. So I do think that Middleborough qualifies for definitely our housing programs. I think for our business programs, for those for-profit businesses that are looking to use our B&I program, I do believe that Middleborough, we could look back at that map again, actually. So actually, you know what? Maybe I can pull it up online. Might be a little bit easier. Can you all still see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, 2, 3, 4, 6.
Yes.
What's the town hall address? Is it, or your address?
10 Nickerson Avenue or 20 Center Street.
Okay, let's do that. Great. I believe that Middleborough, from a business perspective, is partially eligible.
Okay.
So this is the business programs map. So Middleborough Center for business programs would not be eligible, but it looks like, I believe Wood Street, that's still in Middleborough, right?
Yes.
So there are Old Center Street is over here. So there are portions of eligibility under the business programs that would be eligible. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure. Welcome. So that you actually just all saw here. So like I said, some of our programs are use this eligibility map, which is nice because you can just go in and enter the address and it'll pop up and tell you if it's eligible, particularly housing and business programs. Where we don't have a map like this is actually for our direct loans for community facilities or water and waste facilities. That's where we have to look at districts and rural and character reviews, and then kind of what the populations of the towns are. Clear as mud, right? I know it is our biggest hang up is that when folks are looking at our website and trying to determine if their town or their project is in a rural area, they really do have to know how to navigate the website. And I've been with the agency for 20 years and we've had a lot of changes over the years. And this is our biggest hang up and our biggest complaint is we just don't have one straight definition of what is considered rural. And it really goes back to the fact of how we are funded and what division we're funded through. So it really goes where we're so diverse in kind of rural development, what we're doing. So we're a little bit of telecommunications, a little bit of electric, a little bit of community programs, a little bit of water and waste. We're really all over the board and then honing down on what's considered a rural area. And what is most challenging is that as the census data continues to increase in terms of populations, is that it really kind of narrows our focus and who we can assist and in what areas. And so every 10 years when we start to follow a new census data, the census data will actually change this mapping system as well. So once we start to use the new 10 census information that's coming through, then that's going to eliminate additional areas that are also going to become ineligible.
Yeah,
Any
so
other
Ann,
questions for Ann? Don?
Hello, and Don Sullivan with Serpent. So there's a lot of information there. Our team will have to take a look at where there's opportunities, where we might be able to generate some projects through your agency and see if we can't make some things happen through our assistance with the CARES Act funding. So yeah, I mean, as we go through this information and see if we can identify communities that may be eligible and potential projects, I'm sure we'll be following up with you as we try to, match up the resources with opportunities.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I am available to, like I said, to discuss any potential projects that you might have. Where I see possibly an opportunity for SERPID is using that RCDI initiative grant for planning or technical assistance purposes in order to reach out to multiple communities at the same time if they have the same need.
Right.
And like I said, we don't do a lot of RCDI, but that one actually expands to the business programs, which opens up to sometimes populations of up to 50,000. So out of all of our programs, business programs has the biggest expansion or availability of rural areas, especially in the Southeast. So the RCDI one, I know the application's coming up in March, so that might be a little bit fast to put something together. But it is a program that's funded annually, and I do see that there could be some opportunities there.
Yeah.
It's kind of a matter of understanding what the needs are from the communities. Is the need in the water systems? Is the need in waste systems? Is the need for multiple communities to come together and they all need this technical assistance or training component, and then kind of see where that project could lie or fit into one of these programs.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. Do you want me to send this PowerPoint to somebody so that way if you want to disperse or somebody wants to use the links in it?
Yeah, if you send it to Don, then Don can get it out to the committee.
Sure, absolutely. That's Don Sullivan?
Yeah, Don Sullivan or Lizeth.
Okay, I think I have that email, yeah.
Any one of us. There's several of us that you can send it to.
Okay, all right, excellent. Well, thanks so much for having me. Everybody have a great day.
You too, Ann. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ann.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So we'll get the agenda back up.
There we go.
There we are. Okay, we'll move on to SERPED updates. Don, EDA.
So I don't know if Deborah Bevan, the EDR, Mass EDR, was trying to get on the call. I don't think she was able to do so, but okay. Yeah, she didn't, huh?
No, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we had a couple of telephone numbers, but nobody ever said anything.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, she didn't make it, but in any event, let me just give you a quick update where we are relative to the EDA planning grant and our projects under the planning grant side of the equation. So recently we got a third year of our planning grant awarded to us in December. Planning grants for 2021. We'll continue on our normal work program. Part of that will entail looking at some preliminary scheduling for the a new SEDS update for 2022 to 2027. And again, that's the third year of a 3-year planning grant. Next year, we'll have to file a whole new grant for an additional 3 years, but that'll end the 3-year effort under the EDA planning grant to SERPID. On the project side of the equation, we've got a lot going on. Mattapoisett Industrial Park, it's an infrastructure project, $1.4 million. That's going out to bid in the next couple of weeks, where hopefully that construction will start in the late spring. Somerset Water and Sewer, that's the third grant, and for Somerset, that's a $1.3 million grant for infrastructure, water and sewer improvements. Again, that's going out again for construction in the spring. We're finishing up the planning grant. We're trying to get the remaining element, the executed IMA between Somerset and Swansea finalized. That's the most critical piece of that whole planning grant. The planning grant was for 3 years. It was, we deliverables was an integrated wastewater management plan, an IMA, a master plan, and an economic development strategy that was all put together. And again, we're waiting on a final IMA executed between Somerset and Swansea. That is a critical piece of, following on for some additional EDA funds. Most notably, it would be Swansea on Route 6. We're looking at a potential feasibility study that would follow with construction money to extend the line down Route 6. And on the other side, on the eastern side, is the opportunities on 138 in Dayton. Similar, would do a feasibility study, followed by extension of SOAR. Again, it's all contingent on the IMA being signed between the two communities of Somerset and Swansea. We had a nice pot of money that was awarded to New Bedford on the North Terminal Phase 2 project, pier and fendering. It's a $20 million project. EDA is picking up 80% of that, $16 million. That's a design and engineering construction for the terminal, Phase 2 of the terminal. If everything works out, we'll be looking at starting the D&E on that project sometime in late spring, early summer. That's about a 3-year project, and we're looking for construction to start around 2022. And Grant, if you want to chime in on the Deacon School feasibility study and what you folks did there.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yep.
So that study was funded through US EDA, the District Local Technical Assistance Program, or DLTA, through SERPED and the Massachusetts State Legislature and DHCD. That was also combined with our municipal assistance funding. It just recently wrapped up. We've highlighted the webpage there for you, where you can find the final report, including all of the market analysis and the scenario planning. And you'll see 2 videos of our presentations to the Redevelopment Authority there, some other good site imagery, drone images, things like that. Also happy to report that we'll be continuing that work with the Redevelopment Authority. We'll be helping propose a zoning amendment to support the action plan and otherwise advance the action plan that we identified with the town. So invite you to visit that website there and just take a look at the work.
Any questions on that? No? Okay. Well, Dick, moving down the agenda.
Yeah, I think that might be me here. So we'd like to talk to you a little bit more about the CARES Act work program that we began in the fall of last year. Basically, I know there might be some new members of the group here today, so we thought we would highlight another webpage, the RESC, this group's webpage, where you can see a recording of the last meeting we held. That was in August. And, that'll just give you a little background about all of these acronyms, the CEDS, what is that? That's the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. What does that do? We provided a little bit of basic RESC 101 at that meeting. You'll also see a more detailed description of the work program that we're undertaking under CARE. So again, just another quick plug of a web page where you can, at your at your convenience, look at the recording of that video. Similarly, we just conducted a drone survey and an interior 3D tour of a project, a property that's for sale and for lease, right outside of the Industrial Drive project that Don just highlighted in Mattapoisett. I can describe that with my words, but again, it'd be better for you to just click on this link when you have an opportunity and look at the deliverables, look at how the owner is using the tour and the beautiful imagery of the property to add value to the marketing efforts of the site. That's all I have to say about that. I think Lizeth may be speaking more about the CARES Award program, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Lizeth?
All right, sounds good. So kind of to complement the kind of enhanced changes that we're making to our online presence with, the RESC, as well as some of those marketing materials, I want to talk a little bit about the outreach that we've been doing. And that's largely related to project development and grant applications. So since our last meeting in August, we've had 12 active grant requests across a wide range of scopes and project types. So you'll see there EDA, Mass DOT shared streets, mass development, as well as CDBG. In total, we'll be pursuing about $7 million through these grants, and that's just within this time frame from August to now. So there's a lot to look forward to. Among those, we have Don asked me to highlight the Fall River EDA construction app, which included a sewer upgrade, and that was for about $6.3 million. So it represents a big win for our region, and one of those major projects that we wanted to highlight. In addition to that, I wanted to also mention North Attleboro was awarded $29,000 for downtown improvements as a response to COVID and increasing commerce in the downtown. And a little related to EDA, but more so discussing this opportunity to talk about projects and grants and opening doors for other improvements in your communities. Plainville was recently awarded $35,000 through the Mass Office on Disability to create an ADA transition plan, which we will be spearheading. Moving forward into 2021, we have a lot of grants that we're hoping to complete and submit and hear back from, but that outreach is going to continue. So far, we've been able to have some meaningful conversations with about 10 of our 27 communities, but we really hope to get to 100% there. So if there are any projects that your community is thinking about and doesn't really have a grant identified for it, that's something that we can talk about because, as we discussed earlier with USDA, some of those eligibility criteria is sometimes difficult to navigate, and we're really here to help figure those types of opportunities out with you as well. So those are updates regarding our outreach and grant applications, and I'll hand it off to Dick as well.
Is Bill Roth still on? There he is. Bill, with the sale of the former Quad Graphics property on County Street, adjacent to the new commuter rail station, is that a site the city might be looking at for transit-oriented development?
We don't know. We just know that the thing sold. They have not come and talked to us about what they're looking at doing. As you know, if you've been in that building, I know my staff has, that's a warehouse building with, large span, few pillars. So it's more for storage and warehousing. That's not conducive to redevelopment for mixed use other than if it was a tear down. I assume they're going to be looking at it for the warehouse and industrial portion of it.
Yeah, I don't know. But in that area, of course, is the former Purple Dinosaur property where the commuter rail station will be going. So just add that question. Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that, see what the, I know that they're—
They paid a hefty penny for it too, I think.
Yeah, it was assessed for $12 million. They sold it for $35 million. So
yeah.
So I guess, according to the brokers, it came with some tenant attached. So there's some income already there for a part of the building. But that's an improved interchange plan there. So that's something as well as the commuter rail. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Anybody else with any projects, questions?
I have a question.
Sure, Janice.
So I'm wondering how far removed from ED can SERPED be? How many steps away and still apply for a grant for a community? And I'm bringing this up because we have a housing choice. We're a housing choice community, and we're looking at putting in a 40R, working with SERPED actually, thank goodness, to do an overlay district. And this housing choice community grant will allow the expansion of a sewer line if there is affordable housing tied to it, but our plan is to also have commercial in that 40R. I know it's a stretch, but is that something that we would need further discussion on to look at SERPED applying for sewer expansion to accommodate housing plus commercial in a 40R district? Can you hear me?
Yeah. So
We can
Yeah.
talk
My answer
later.
I think that's something we can definitely, I've been working with Janice and
Yeah.
Leanne and the folks in Middleborough in regards to the 40R. And yeah, that's something we can definitely look at, the need to expand sewer down
Yeah,
to
there's a
the
lot behind it.
locations. Yeah, there's definitely a lot behind it, but yeah, that's something that we can expand, obviously offline and see what is there. Is there anything under RDA that was just spoken about? Or any other things, and we can bring Dawn in on that conversation as well. But yeah, that's something that we can look at and see what's out there again, because there's many different grant opportunities out there for many different things. But yeah, that's something we could definitely look into as kind of the next step in this process.
Okay. Anything else, Lisette?
No.
No. Back to the agenda. I think we're next meeting, Wednesday, April 21st, 11:30. So I'd say if there's not anything else to come before our group today, we usually ask for any communities that want to do an update. Anybody?
Dick, I would like to say a couple of things just about the REDA funding.
Okay.
So we do have, I believe the last time we had the meeting, the funds weren't quite going through, but we do have funds available through, in addition to our normal loan programs, funding available through the EDA for the CARES Act for small businesses who have been negatively affected by COVID. So this is really available to Massachusetts small businesses. We actually recently sent out an email. I believe all of you should be on the email list. But it's COVID relief funding, and our interest rates are starting at 2% for the first 2 years. And then they'll increase to the normal 6% for our small loan programs for the remaining, potentially 4 years. Usually it's a 6-year term or so. But our funds can, we can make loans up to $350,000. There's no prepayment penalty. So this is a great opportunity for those businesses. Maybe they did receive EIDL and PPP funding, but they need additional assistance. So eligible counties include Barnstable, Bristol, Dukes, Essex, Nantucket, Norfolk, Plymouth, and Suffolk in Massachusetts. So if you have anyone who is looking for financing for their business, just to help them, who have been negatively affected by COVID, just getting the word out that the funds are available. So we're happy to have that conversation.
Great, Angie.
Yeah, good information. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else? I noticed Nancy is on from Somerset. Anything from Somerset, Nancy? I see her name, but maybe she's not there right now. Okay, and then
Dick, this is Lloyd Mendes from Somerset.
Yes, Lloyd. How are you? Anything?
Good, how are you doing? Happy New Year.
Any information from Somerset that you want us to have?
Yeah, following up on the comments of the last speaker, it's hard to tell who's speaking using Zoom. But, we're a small town, so in cooperation with Nancy Durfee, whenever a state program comes out for COVID, I go out door to door to all our businesses. Now, I can do that because Somerset's a small town. And usually when I go door to door, I feel that I'm not very welcome, that I'm wasting their time. And they let me know. But these last couple of rounds of funding, I've been very, very welcomed at local businesses.
Sure.
But the sense I get from talking to just about everybody is that they're not even thinking about long-term funding. Just about everybody I talk to are not sure if they're going to be standing tomorrow. That's the sense I have from the field. I'm speaking as your field guy. Over to you, Dick.
Yeah, well, I think the Seed Corp has, some loans, and that was Angie Pierre from Seed Corp speaking earlier. But there are some loans that may fit. So I think the best thing to do is refer those companies up to Seed and see if they can be of assistance to them. There's also the Small Business Center in the region that can be helpful, as well as local banks. But I think sometimes they just need to have an understanding of what's available first.
Absolutely. If you have anybody, feel free to send them our way. You can reach out to me directly. And if we're not a good fit, then we can send them to some of the resource partners if they just need business assistance help, or if there's other funding options that would probably be a better fit, we can connect them with the right people.
Sure, but my only point was broader than that. That there's a certain level of desperation out there now among smaller businesses, and it's not quite the same feeling. I could go to a business a year and a half ago, and they could look at it in a financial way. They could look at what was on offer in a financial way. But now there's more of I pick up a sense of desperation among many of our small businesses.
Sure.
Over to you.
Yeah, some towns, maybe not as many around here, but some towns have actually taken upon themselves to gap fill for small businesses and to keep them alive during this COVID period. So, but I think it's good to try to get them out to talk to people, see if there's any local or regional resources that can be assistance to them. Anybody else?
I just have one more comment, if you would.
Sure.
The Middleborough Office of Economic Development has opened a one-stop Middleborough Business Resource Center. I'll show you our little pamphlet. We've partnered with about 30 professionals, and these people are offering 3 free hours of advice to new businesses or businesses that want to come to Middleborough and help with any problems they have. And we're also referring folks who come in to other financial resources with the state and local agencies and trainings. So I just wanted to get that out there. Hopefully we'll start putting Middleborough on the map, some map, and get people more interested in coming to Middleborough as far as business development and growth here. So
Sure. Yeah, I know that the Chamber of Commerce is in the area. I've also done some Zoom workshops for small business, and that's also a source of contact in case of companies that need assistance.
yes.
Anybody else today? Mass Development, Jay and Mary Ellen, anything up new for you guys?
Not really on our side. I don't know about you, Mary Ellen, but nothing much on my side.
No, we're just that we have a new CEO, so we are welcoming him on board, and he is actively jumping into a lot of meetings. So you never know where you'll see him show up, right, Bill?
Yeah, for those who don't know, he was a former mayor of Lawrence, so he's got a strong connection to gateway cities. So we'll be seeing different policies coming out in the months ahead, I'm sure.
Great. Well, they've been a great partner in Taunton, so we know the good work that you can do. The other new person that came on since we've been operating is Bill Napolitano, and I don't know if Bill has anything to say.
No updates, but I'm certainly glad that everybody had a chance to meet Ann Correa today and become familiar with her programs. These are the things I've been trying to push out into the communities for years, and I've known Ann for a number of years. So I think walking away today, you can see that there are a lot more possibilities under the RDA programs than you would originally think. A lot of people just get dismissive with the name of it. But really dig into these things and see where you can benefit, see where you can form even partnerships, especially where portions of communities may be designated rural on those maps. It's well worth your while. And Ann as a first point of contact is fabulous. She'll put you in touch with the right people if she can't provide the direct answers.
Okay, thanks, Bill. All right. Anybody have anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. I don't know whether we need that, but any case, next meeting is Wednesday, April 21st, 11:30 a.m. I would guess it's probably going to be a Zoom meeting, right, Don? Don Sullivan, you talking?
Yeah, it would be, yep.
Okay. Yeah, we're not, we don't have the ability not to Zoom for a while, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
But
we're gonna
everyone
be
have
here for a while.
a great rest of the day, and glad to have you with us. And thanks to the Serpent staff for setting up the meeting today.
Good to see you all.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you.